What happens when the richest man on earth refuses to answer to a courtroom? What begins as defiance ends in national reform. A grieving mother, a whistleblower, a judge who wouldn't back down, and an AI system that almost rewrote medicine without permission. This isn't science fiction. It's what really happened when power, progress, and truth collided. If you believe innovation should never silence accountability, like, subscribe, and share this story. Drop a comment below truth before speed. And don't miss the next episode, because the future of technology depends on how we respond today. Palo Alto, late spring. The air was electric outside the sleek glass headquarters of Neural Division, a Tesla subsidiary, spun off just 19 months prior. Inside, reporters packed shoulder to shoulder. Journalists from the Wall Street Journal to the Des Moines Register leaned forward as Elon Musk stepped up to the podium, confident, unflinching. Today, Musk began. We take one giant step beyond human error. Behind him, a screen lit up Neural Care. The company's latest AI system had just received provisional approval to launch in 7 states. It wasn't a health assistant. It was a full-scale diagnostic engine processing patient symptoms, genetic history, and radiological scans to deliver primary diagnoses in under 17 seconds. The crowd gasped. Musk didn't pause. By 2026, he declared, Neural Care will replace 70% of hospitalist physicians. It will never tire, never guess, never forget. His eyes scanned the room. It will save lives faster than any human ever could. The applause was immediate and loud, but 4 miles away in a modest federal office near Sacramento, one woman was not clapping. Emily Henderson, now serving as a senior AI ethics officer for the National Health Oversight Council, was staring at her screen. What she held in her hand wasn't part of any public rollout. It was an internal report leaked anonymously just 3 hours prior. The file's subject line read, Internal QA Results. Breast Oncology Subsystem. Do not circulate. The data inside chilled her. In the system's early-stage cancer detection trials, Neural Care had misdiagnosed stage 1 breast cancer in 12.3% of reviewed cases, labeling malignant nodules as benign, sending patients home without further screening. And yet, just this morning, Musk had claimed clinical accuracy exceeding any human panel. Henderson scrolled down. Pages of testing logs, color-coded risk scores, and internal engineer notes, all indicating the system's anomaly flag, had been disabled by executive override weeks before launch. She didn't wait. She didn't call a press outlet. She drafted a confidential judicial memorandum addressed directly to federal judge Eleanor Reynolds, U.S. District Court for the Northern District of California. Her message was simple. The public rollout of Neural Care poses an immediate and irreversible danger to human life. The system is not safe. I am requesting an emergency judicial review under the Whistleblower Medical Protection Clause. She clicked send. Within 2 hours, Judge Reynolds had received the memo in her private chamber inbox. She read it twice. Appointed to the bench 15 years earlier, Reynolds wasn't easily rattled. The daughter of a Michigan factory worker, she had risen through the system with a reputation for zero tolerance toward institutional arrogance. Now, as the full weight of Musk's billion-dollar launch slammed against her desk, she issued a rare order. Effective immediately, this court will open a federal review into the deployment of Neural Care under the Accelerated Medical Technology Oversight Act. It wasn't a full injunction, not yet, but it was enough. Musk's legal team was notified by 12 p.m. PST. The Department of Health and Human Services received a federal summons by 5:27. and NeuralCare's pending expansion to veterans' hospitals was placed under preliminary audit. By nightfall, tech outlets caught wind of something big. Musk's AI under federal scrutiny, just hours after launch. NeuralCare flagged for life-threatening error rate. But none of them knew the real story, not yet. Not the moment Musk stood at that podium declaring a revolution. Not the data Henderson risked her career to leak. And certainly not the quiet, razor-sharp federal judge preparing to challenge the most powerful man in modern technology. What started as a product launch was now unraveling into a full-scale federal confrontation. And the country hadn't even seen the evidence yet. It didn't take long. Within 36 hours of receiving Emily Henderson's confidential alert, Judge Eleanor Reynolds called a special emergency session at the San Francisco Federal Courthouse. The courtroom was packed, clerks, legal analysts, and journalists with notebooks, twitching in anticipation. For the first time in years, the gallery overflowed. Not for a murder trial, not for a scandal, but for a question with national consequences. Was the most powerful man in tech pushing out a life-or-death product too soon at exactly 9:00 a.m.? Reynolds entered. Calm, composed robe, buttoned to the collar. She didn't waste words. This court, she said, is opening judicial review of NeuralCare's deployment under federal medical technology protocols. Tesla and its subsidiaries are hereby ordered to immediately suspend further rollout for a period of 30 days. In that time, you will produce all internal testing records, QA logs, and risk analysis reports. Full disclosure. No redactions. A low hum rippled through the gallery. James Whitfield. Elon Musk's legal representative rose slowly. Tall, sharp-suited, known in legal circles as a master of pressure tactics. Your Honor, he began. This action sets a dangerous precedent. You're halting deployment of a system that's not only legal, it's revolutionary. NeuralCare represents the future of diagnostics. Your injunction isn't protecting lives, it's delaying the saving of lives. He turned, scanning the courtroom. And let us not forget, every minute. This AI has paused people suffer. Is that justice? Judge Reynolds didn't flinch. Mr. Whitfield, you will direct your arguments to the bench, not the audience. Outside, the media storm exploded. Musk, never one to remain silent, posted directly to his 230 million followers on X. Formerly Twitter, judges don't build the future. Engineers do. The post was shared 8.2 million times in under 6 hours. Cable news ignited. Fox News ran the headline, "Judicial Overreach, AI halted by unelected bureaucrat." Meanwhile, PBS NewsHour opened with federal judge steps in to block unvetted AI from hitting hospitals. Lines were drawn. Medical associations began issuing cautious statements. The American Medical Ethics Council praised Reynolds' decision as a responsible pause. But venture capital forums called it a chilling effect on American innovation. Some compared it to the FDA grounding a promising cancer drug. Others said it was like stopping a rocket launch because one bolt was loose. Across the country, living rooms lit up with debate, especially among older Americans, many of whom had already faced medical misdiagnoses, insurance nightmares, and rushed technology rollouts. To them, NeuralCare didn't just feel like the future. It felt like a gamble. Back in court, the tension rose. Whitfield submitted a formal challenge to the injunction requesting an immediate appellate review. Our client, he said flatly, intends to fight this every step of the way. Meanwhile, Emily Henderson was kept under federal protection, quietly moved to a temporary location in Santa Clara. She refused interviews. Her only public statement came through her attorney. I did what any responsible engineer would do. My concern isn't fame or money, it's human life. Inside Tesla, damage control was already underway. Internal memos revealed the company had initiated Phase 4 PR contingency, a strategy for national pushback. But a deeper concern was brewing. The judge had also requested the identity of the override signature on the cancer detection subsystem, the executive who disabled the anomaly flag. That name hadn't been made public yet. By week's end, public sentiment was split down the middle. Gallup released a snap poll. 48% supported the judge's pause. 44% said she was overstepping. 8% were unsure. The country was polarized. But one thing was certain. Neural care was no longer just about software. It was now a flashpoint in America's culture war between faith in machines and fear of losing human control. As the week closed, the injunction held firm. Reynolds declined Musk's appeal for emergency lift. Lives are not beta tests, she wrote in her ruling. Until this court is satisfied that neural care meets basic thresholds of safety and transparency, it will not touch another patient. Elon Musk didn't speak publicly again that week. But insiders say he was already planning his next move, one that would stun even his critics. The injunction had barely cooled before the public hearing was announced. It would be the first open session in the Federal Review of Neural Care, and by sunrise, the line outside the San Francisco Federal Courthouse wrapped around the block. Elderly patients, former nurses, young tech engineers, all came to witness a moment they sensed would echo far beyond one courtroom. Judge Eleanor Reynolds entered just after 9 a.m., firm and steady. This wasn't a trial yet, but it was about to feel like one. On one side sat Sarah Chen, attorney, for a growing list of patients and families who believed they had been wronged by neural care's premature use. On the other, James Whitfield, flanked by a legal team representing Tesla's AI division. But neither would speak first. The honor, if it could be called that, belonged to a mother named Carolyn Marsh. She took the stand in silence, clutching a photograph of her 10-year-old son, Matthew. She described a late-night ER visit in Fresno, where he'd complained of chest pain. Doctors, overwhelmed and short-staffed, had deferred to neural care's preliminary screen. System flagged his condition as non-urgent, a possible viral strain. Matthew died 32 hours later of undiagnosed myocarditis. Her voice shook, but her words didn't. They told me it wasn't human error. They said the machine got it wrong, that no one double-checked. I don't care what they call it. It killed my son. The courtroom fell silent. Even Whitfield didn't shift in his chair. Then Sarah Chen rose with what would become the morning's most explosive disclosure. Your Honor, we now have documented proof that neural care was actively used at 3 regional hospitals in California without patient consent. There was no waiver, no notice, no disclosure. These people were told they were receiving standard diagnostic care, when in fact they were part of an unauthorized AI test. She held up internal documents, hospital memos, test logs, deployment schedules. Pages stamped confidential. Gasps echoed from the gallery. Judge Reynolds didn't blink, but her gavel came down hard. Let the record reflect that patient consent protocols may have been violated. This court will investigate further. Whitfield, seasoned in handling crises, pivoted smoothly. Your Honor, while we regret any unintended consequences, we remind the court that every patient admitted during those pilot deployments signed modern consent forms. The language included provisions for emerging technologies, including machine-assisted diagnostics. This is not a cover-up, it's progress in action. His tone sharpened, and progress requires risk. The light bulb didn't come without fire. Penicillin didn't emerge without trial. This country leads not by waiting for perfection, but by testing, failing, adjusting, and moving forward. The room bristled. But it was Emily Henderson who silenced it next. Summoned to testify under oath, she walked forward with a quiet presence. No theatrics, no outrage, just evidence. She confirmed that during her time at Tesla's neural division, she had personally flagged multiple internal reports warning of rising misdiagnosis patterns in early oncology screenings. Those reports, she said, were later revised before being submitted for internal audit. Entire sections were redacted, and in one case, an anomaly detection flag was turned off manually with executive authorization. Reynolds leaned forward. "Do you have the names involved in those decisions?" "I do," Henderson answered. "But I believe that decision came from the top." A ripple moved across the courtroom. The judge folded her hands, her gaze firm. "Then this court requires testimony from the top." She turned to Tesla's table. "Mr. Whitfield, I am issuing a judicial summons to Mr. Elon Musk. He is to appear in person within 5 business days. This court expects his direct account of decision-making related to NeuralCare's deployment and data integrity." Whitfield stood, but said nothing. His silence said enough. Outside, word of the summons spread like wildfire. Headlines broke within minutes. Federal judge orders Musk to testify in NeuralCare case. Elon Musk faces live. Questioning in AI misuse scandal. Wall Street paused. Public sentiment flared. What began as a software product was now a national reckoning where code ethics and human life collided in a courtroom under oath. Musk had stayed silent. Until now. 3 days after the judicial summons, the world finally saw him. Elon Musk pressed navy blue suit, no tie, walked into the federal courthouse in San Francisco with cameras flashing like it was a movie premiere. Except this wasn't Hollywood. This was a reckoning. The man who had launched rockets redefined electric cars and now claimed to reinvent medicine with NeuralCare was about to face direct, unfiltered questioning under oath. The gallery was full. Elderly veterans' families of misdiagnosed patients and high-ranking federal observers lined the wooden benches. Judge Eleanor Reynolds, now nationally recognized as the voice of judicial restraint, sat upright at the bench gavel within reach. But the room was already tense before she spoke a word. "Mr. Musk," she began, "this court has requested full algorithmic transparency as part of our inquiry. That includes the source code and override pathways of NeuralCare's diagnostic engine. Do you have that information with you today?" Musk didn't flinch. "No, Your Honor," he replied, voice even, but steely. "That data contains proprietary intellectual property and sensitive security protocols. Releasing it into any environment outside of Tesla's internal systems would risk both trade secrets and patient safety." A beat of silence. Reynolds leaned forward. "Let me be clear. You are refusing a direct order from a federal court. I'm declining to release proprietary code that, if leaked or mishandled, could undermine national infrastructure. This isn't about hiding mistakes. It's about protecting innovation." Reynolds didn't blink. "Then you are in contempt." The gavel came down. Effective immediately, this court imposes a civil fine of $1 million per day until full cooperation is achieved. You will not use trade secrecy to obstruct federal oversight of potential harm to public health. Gasps echoed through the chamber. Musk's lawyers leaned in urgently, but he raised a hand dismissing them. Then, in front of the judge cameras and millions of viewers watching live, Elon Musk stood up and without another word walked out of the courtroom. The room froze. Even the stenographer's fingers paused. Outside headlines erupted in real time. Musk walks out of federal hearing. Judge hits back with $1 million day fine. Contempt of court, Musk. The justice system escalates live on air. By the time Musk exited the courthouse steps, footage was already being played on every major network. His refusal to disclose the algorithm, combined with the walkout, set the nation on fire. Within hours, the president's press secretary was fielding questions. Talk radio went ballistic. Even Wall Street noticed. Tesla stock dropped 10.2% by closing bell, its sharpest single-day fall in over a year. Analysts speculated on legal exposure. Investors began raising questions about corporate governance and board oversight. Meanwhile, Judge Reynolds returned to her chambers and issued a formal court order confirming the fine. It was the first time in her judicial career she had sanctioned an individual executive with a rolling contempt penalty tied directly to daily noncompliance. The ruling sparked outrage and praise in equal measure. Supporters of Musk said he was defending the frontier of progress, refusing to hand over sacred code, technologically illiterate bureaucrats. Detractors accused him of arrogance, of treating human lives like collateral damage on the road to innovation. Back in Washington, congressional leaders called for hearings on AI regulation and transparency. One senator put it bluntly on camera. When the richest man on earth thinks he's too powerful to answer to a court, we have a democracy problem. The ripple effect was immediate. 3 hospitals' original neural care test sites suspended all use of the platform pending legal review. Whistleblowers within Tesla began reaching out to regulators. Meanwhile, Emily Henderson was now being treated as a federal witness with 24-hour security and restricted public access. By week's end, confrontation had become a cultural flashpoint. Talk show hosts, pastors, union leaders, and veteran groups all weighed in. It wasn't just about AI anymore. It was about accountability in an era where power moves faster than policy. Biggest question still hung in the air. Would Elon Musk double down on defiance? Or was this the silence before the storm? 3 days had passed since the walkout. 3 days of headlines, talk radio, fury falling stocks, and public outrage. The $1 million per day contempt fine now totaled $3 million and counting. Washington was buzzing with talks of legislative oversight. But inside the federal courthouse in San Francisco, something far more unexpected was about to unfold. At precisely 9:00 a.m., the side door of Courtroom 4B opened, not the main entry. There were no security flanks, no entourage, no camera-ready smile. Elon Musk walked in alone. No suit, no lawyers, just a plain black crew-neck shirt and a small digital tablet in hand. The room went still. Judge Reynolds watched closely. She said nothing at first. Neither did Musk. It was the quietest moment in the entire neural care saga. Then he stepped forward. "Your Honor, Musk," began, voice lower than usual. "3 nights ago I walked out of this courtroom. I thought I was protecting something valuable, my company's code, our vision, our momentum. But I wasn't protecting the truth." He held up the tablet. "I didn't spend the last 3 nights coding. I spent them reading every internal message flag report, audit log, and every warning I ignored." The courtroom sat frozen. Reporters barely blinked. Musk tapped the tablet, and the courtroom's display screens lit up. One by one, they showed internal documents, time-stamped messages, executive memos, QA logs. 48 cases. 48 instances of patients most elderly, misdiagnosed by early iterations of neural care. Some were minor. Others, catastrophic. At least a dozen involved cancer, 3 with children, 2 resulting in deaths that could have been avoided. One memo read, Flagged misdiagnosis anomaly rate. Climbing, pushing back report could delay demo rollout. Exec review thread 17. Another override activated. Visual tumor scans reclassified for time optimization. Beta team lead. And finally, an email that stopped the room cold. It bore Musk's name in the CC field. It read, "Need clearance to suppress latest anomaly run launch window tight. We'll explain in person." He looked up. That email was never read. Not because someone deleted it. Because I didn't bother. I trusted the schedule more than I trusted the data. For a man known for speed rockets, breakthroughs, updates, measured in seconds. He now paused. What I saw was failure. Not just in the software. In leadership. In oversight. In me. He turned toward the gallery and locked eyes with Emily Henderson. "You tried to warn us. You were right. I'm sorry I didn't listen." Then his voice caught slightly as he turned to face Carolyn Marsh, the grieving mother from Part 3. "To the families who lost, who suffered, who were told a machine knew better. I failed you, and I won't hide behind innovation to avoid saying what should have been said from day one. I'm stopping neural care, effective immediately." Gasps filled the courtroom. No more rollouts, no more tests, no more data silence. He handed the tablet to the clerk. "All log source code versions and override records have been exported to a secure drive available for the court, the Federal Review Team, and any independent ethics board you appoint." Judge Reynolds stayed still for a long moment. Then she finally spoke. "Mr. Musk, your words will be entered into the record. This court acknowledges your reversal, of course, but understand this accountability doesn't end at apology." Musk nodded. "It begins there. That's why I'm not just ending the program. I'm proposing structural changes at Tesla and at every company I control. But I'll wait for your ruling before speaking further." The gavel didn't come down. Not yet. But the gallery exhaled audibly. A billionaire had returned not to fight, but to listen, to expose, and to submit to judgment. In homes across the country, viewers who had once admired Musk for his daring now saw something different. Humility. Not weakness, but maturity, earned the hard way. That morning, for the first time since Neural Care's launch, the national conversation shifted. From blame to responsibility. From fury to reform. And from a courtroom to a turning point. By the time Elon Musk's apology went viral, America had already begun to reframe the narrative. What once felt like a courtroom collision between power and principle had now shifted into something far more complex, a reckoning with the future of technology itself. But apology alone was not enough. Just 24 hours after Musk shut down Neural Care and submitted all internal data to the court, his team requested a closed-door mediation session. Not to delay, not to deflect, but to make a formal offer, one that could rewrite the legacy of this crisis, possibly reshape the role of AI in American life. At a private conference room within the courthouse, Judge Eleanor Reynolds, Sarah Chen, Emily Henderson, and several senior officials from the Department of Health met with Musk and 2 aides. No lawyers, no cameras. Musk began with a statement that surprised even his critics. This wasn't just a product failure. It was a failure of trust, mine and others. Others in me and all of us, in the systems we built too quickly. I don't want to settle this with silence. I want to rebuild it publicly. Then he unveiled the proposal. First, a National AI Ethics Council. Funded entirely by Musk. The council would be governed by an independent board comprised of retired federal judges, medical ethicists, technologists, and patient advocates. Its sole mission to review, audit, and establish enforceable ethical standards for AI systems used in healthcare and human services. It will have subpoena power, unrestricted access, and permanent independence from corporate control, Musk promised. I will not be part of it. No company I lead will influence its decisions. Second, a $100 million public compensation and reform fund. Half would be allocated to compensate affected families and patients who suffered under NeuralCare's deployment. The other half would fund the development of safer diagnostic tools, open-source risk review platforms, and AI transparency initiatives for public health. Third, and most surprising, Emily Henderson. Musk asked her directly, "Emily, I ignored your warnings. That mistake nearly cost lives. If you're willing, I want you to lead something we never had a dedicated ethics division inside Tesla's AI department. You would report directly to the board, not to me. You'd have full oversight authority." The room went silent. Henderson didn't answer immediately, but the look in her eyes said she hadn't expected the offer, much less in front of a judge and her attorney. Sarah Chen broke the silence. "We're not here to accept PR gestures, but this offer, it's different." She paused, then continued. "In light of these terms and Musk's public admission of responsibility, we are prepared to recommend a 45-day legal pause on the civil action, during which time we will evaluate full implementation of these commitments." Judge Reynolds listened without expression. When everyone finished, she stood. "Mr. Musk, I've seen many defendants apologize after damage is done, but rarely do they restructure the vehicle that caused it. The court accepts the terms of temporary mediation. The contempt fine will remain suspended. The civil hearing is paused." But her tone sharpened. "If any part of this offer proves disingenuous, the court will resume proceedings, and it will not be lenient." Musk nodded. Understood. Outside, the media was already camped out, unaware of what had just occurred inside. But by late afternoon, the headlines hit. Musk proposes $100 million national AI. Ethics Council aims. Whistleblower to lead oversight. Judge approves. Pause in NeuralCare. Lawsuit calls offer. Unprecedented. Cable news anchors called it the biggest reversal in modern tech history. Editorials flooded in, some skeptical, many astonished. In living rooms across the country, Americans watched the man they had seen walk out in defiance now walk back in with something few had expected. Not just an apology, but a plan. The public mood shifted, not to forgiveness, but to curiosity. Could a billionaire actually build something better in the wreckage of failure? Would the system finally evolve? All eyes were on the next 45 days. 45 days had passed. What began as a courtroom standoff between a federal judge and the most powerful tech CEO in the world had evolved into something no one, least of all the public, had expected: cooperation, structural reform, and a national conversation on the ethics of artificial intelligence. Now came the moment that would close the courtroom chapter, but launch something far greater. Courtroom 4B was packed. Veterans, caregivers, tech skeptics, journalists, and ordinary citizens filled every bench. Some had watched the rise of Silicon Valley with hope. Others had learned to watch it with caution. But today, they came for something rarer than innovation accountability. Judge Eleanor Reynolds entered one last time. "This court has reviewed all materials submitted following Mr. Musk's proposal. We have confirmed the establishment of the AI Ethics Oversight Council. We have verified the full funding of the $100 million Public Restitution and Reform Fund, and we have accepted the appointment of Ms. Emily Henderson to Tesla's board-level ethics division." She paused. "Mr. Musk, she said firmly. "You remain under this court's prior contempt citation. That will not be lifted. Let history show that defiance has a cost, even if growth follows." Musk nodded. He didn't object. He didn't speak. However, Reynolds continued this court. "Acknowledges your compliance exceeded the minimum terms requested. And more importantly, your proposal has introduced a path forward that balances innovation with public safety, oversight, and humility." There was no cheering. This wasn't a sporting event. This was justice delivered in quiet sentences, one line at a time. Sarah Chen, who had fought relentlessly on behalf of affected families, rose next. She addressed the court clearly. "In light of the fulfillment of all battlement terms, including third-party audits, board-level ethics, restructuring, and full compensation pathways for affected individuals," the plaintiffs respectfully moved to withdraw the civil suit. Judge Reynolds glanced toward Emily Henderson, then back at the bench. Motion granted. Just like that, after months of hearings, headlines, and public fury, the neural care lawsuit was closed. But the story wasn't over. It was moving from courtrooms to Congress. 1 week later, a joint congressional hearing was held in Washington, D.C. The topic: AI in healthcare regulation and ethical responsibility. It was the most watched C-SPAN broadcast since Watergate. And at the witness table, seated side by side, were two figures who had once stood on opposite sides of the courtroom: Elon Musk and Emily Henderson. She spoke first. "I didn't come forward to take down a company. I came forward because truth is not optional when lives are at stake. If AI is to serve humanity, then humanity must still be in the room." Musk followed, quieter than usual. "I've built systems that go to Mars, but I failed to build one that listened before launching in a hospital. That won't happen again." Both were firm, neither exaggerated, and the country noticed. By the end of the session, the Senate Committee on Health and Technology announced bipartisan legislation modeled after the settlement terms, requiring all AI medical systems to undergo independent audit, real-time risk disclosures, and ethical oversight by public interest boards. The bill passed out of committee within 2 weeks. But the most symbolic moment came back where it started, in the courtroom. Judge Reynolds, in her final public statement before retirement, addressed a national audience from her bench one last time. "I have spent 20 years on this bench. I've ruled on fraud, murder, corporate crimes, and political scandals. But I've never seen a case force the future to slow down and look in the mirror." She looked out at the courtroom, the press, the nation watching on live stream. "Progress is not the enemy of truth. But progress without truth is not progress at all." Then she added, almost as an afterthought, the line that would be quoted for years: "Let it be known, technological advancement will never be an excuse to bury the facts." She adjourned the court. Then she stepped down for the last time. And just like that, the judge who challenged the richest man in the world didn't just win a ruling. She changed the game. 6 months later, the storm that once consumed headlines had become something far greater: a blueprint. In a rare moment of near unanimity, the United States Congress passed the Federal Health AI Accountability Act with a staggering 93 votes in favor. The legislation mandated that all the artificial intelligence systems used in medical diagnosis or care must undergo third-party ethical review, maintain public safety metrics, and adopt transparent whistleblower protections. What had once been a scandal now reshaped the rules of an entire industry. At the heart of the legislation sat a new framework already being adopted by 18 of the largest AI companies in America. Its name, the Henderson Model. Built on 3 pillars: independent oversight, internal escalation pathways, and mandatory risk disclosure, The model was directly inspired by the events that played out in Courtroom 4B, and by the woman who first had the courage to say something was wrong. Emily Henderson, the once anonymous engineer who dared to challenge Elon Musk's neural care, had become a national figure. Not for tearing anything down, but for helping to rebuild it. Her face appeared on the cover of Time magazine, beneath the headline, "The engineer who saved more lives than AI ever could." She gave few interviews. When she did speak, she spoke softly but clearly. Technology is a tool. Accountability is the hand that holds it. Without that grip, we don't move forward, we spin in circles. Meanwhile, at MIT's School of Engineering, Elon Musk was delivering the most unexpected keynote of his career. Not about rockets, not about batteries or satellites, but about failure. The room was packed with students and faculty. He stepped to the podium in silence, waited a beat, then began. "You all know neural care," he said. "You've read the articles. You saw the walkout. Some of you might have cheered. Some might have cringed." He paused. "But if you remember anything from this chapter of my life, let it be this. My greatest achievement wasn't the AI system we built. It was learning to listen to the people who told me the truth before I was ready to hear it." A standing ovation followed. Outside that auditorium, the cultural shift was already underway. Hospitals began forming AI ethics boards. Universities started offering required courses on algorithmic accountability. Even private tech firms, once allergic to regulation, began hiring compliance officers trained not just in data science, but in public health ethics. The neural care crisis, once seen as a catastrophic misstep, had become a national turning point. And as Americans looked forward, they didn't see a perfect future, but a more honest one. A future where technology could still lead, but no longer outrun the truth. In the end, it wasn't just a judge, a CEO, or an engineer that changed the story. It was a country choosing to pause and finally ask, how fast is too fast? And what are we leaving behind when we don't stop to check? In today's fast-moving world, it's easy to believe that speed is always progress. But as this story reminds us, true progress requires responsibility, not just innovation. When a powerful figure like Elon Musk was forced to stop, listen, and confront the consequences of unchecked technology, it became a turning point not just for one company, but for the entire country. The real heroes weren't the engineers who wrote the code, or the executives who pushed the launch. They were the quiet voices. A mother who spoke through her grief, an engineer who refused to stay silent, and a judge who upheld the value of human life over convenience. This lesson isn't just for the courtroom or Silicon Valley. It's for all of us. Whether we're leading companies or raising grandkids, we must remember accountability isn't the enemy of progress. It's the foundation of trust. If this story moved you, leave a comment below. Progress with principles. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more powerful stories that remind us truth always matters, no matter how fast the world moves.